So of course you want to do your best to get lots of flavor into food from the beginning. You want to sweat onions and get garlic and get the best quality ingredients and pull the flavors out by cooking them with tons of care. But sometimes that doesn't work out, and sometimes you mess things up, and sometimes things are just like too dry or too salty or not salty enough or too just bland. Sometimes things just don't taste good at all. I have a little bit of a framework that I've just invented for how to make anything taste good. And that framework is the 3 S's. So S number 1 is salt. S number 2 is sauce. And S number 3 is sprinkles. Salt, sauce, and sprinkles. To show just how effective the 3 S's are at making food taste good, I have cooked a small pot of white plain rice, and I'm just gonna show you how delicious I can make it with the 3 S's. S number 1, salt. This is pretty plain. It's very plain. It's just plain rice. Nothing is more plain than plain white rice. I love white rice, by the way, but you gotta have some S's to dial it up a little bit. The easiest way to do that would be to just pour on some straight up tamari, which is how I always ate my rice growing up. I believe, fact check this with my mom. I'm sure she'll leave a comment, but I'm pretty sure I grew up calling soy sauce rice gravy. So I guess this is a little bit close to my heart, but yeah, plain rice, bit of soy sauce, good quality, high quality soy sauce, tamari. Delish. If you don't salt your food, it won't taste good. And that's pretty much the long and short of it. When you're making a soup or a stew or a pasta or anything, you want to make sure there's a good hearty dose of salt in whatever you're making, and then all the flavors will come out. I think a lot of people know this by now, most people know this, but a lot of people don't really take it to heart. I mean, they'll still be putting like a pinch of salt in the pasta water. Salt your pasta water a lot. It'll make your pasta taste so much better. I talked about this in the life-changing spaghetti episode, which if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend. So this would taste like nothing if it wasn't perfectly seasoned the whole way through. It would just be like tomatoes and noodles basically. But the salt in the water, the salt on the tomatoes, the good olive oil, everything was cooking it. Salt doesn't just mean salt. I mean, we've got all different kinds of flaky salt. We've got Malden, we've got kosher, I've got Himalayan here. But salt can also mean things like fish sauce. So if you're making a Thai curry, for example, it will taste like nothing until you put fish sauce in it. And then, like magic, it tastes amazing. You put fish sauce into Thai curry or a mango salad or a jicama salad, and suddenly it just completely pops. All the flavors pop. Another great source of salt is soy sauce or tamari. Great way to just like punch up the flavor of anything you're cooking. And this is a sauce and a salt. So is this. So there's gonna be some overlaps here. Another form of salt that's really good that also makes a great sauce is miso. So no matter what kind of salt you're using, having a good amount of salt in your food will make it taste better until it doesn't. But if you do put too much salt in, you can fix that too. A little bit of sweetness helps cut through salt as well as spice. Another thing that helps cut the salt in food is starch. So if you've made a soup that's too salty or a stew, chuck in some rice or some potatoes and that'll just suck the salt right up, and it'll help balance everything out nicely. Another thing that helps cut the salt in food is the second S, which is sauce. Sauce can be hot or cold, and I will say, for me, for a regular weeknight kind of like family dinner, I don't tend to make a hot sauce, very often like a gravy or a pan sauce, but I do a lot of cold sauces, which are basically just like salad dressing or like a mayo kind of thing. Or in this case, I've made a delicious, very quick yogurt sauce with my homemade Instant Pot yogurt, video linked above. And this, I just grated the zest of a lime into it and the juice of half a lime, and then about a teaspoon of sambal oelek and a big pinch of salt. And suddenly I've got this cold, delicious sauce. I could use it as a dip. I can use it as a sauce on something like rice. I could even use it as a salad dressing for like a hearty, crunchy vegetable salad. But this rice is about to be transformed into something very, very delicious with this yogurt sauce. I'll prove it to you by having a bite. So good. The third S is sprinkles. And by sprinkles, I mean literally just sprinkle yummy things on top of your food. It'll make it taste better. So whether that's toasted breadcrumbs or whether that's things like nutritional yeast, which I talk about all day, every day, because I love it so much, or some chopped nuts, breadcrumbs tossed with things like garlic and parsley, Parmesan cheese. Like what is not made better by a sprinkle of Parmesan cheese? Everything bagel sprinkles makes things taste good. There's very few things that are not made better by having a little sprinkle on top. Sprinkles add texture, they add flavor, they add a little contrast. And if you want to be kind of extra special, you can make your own little house sprinkle, which I did recently. So in this cute little, this came in a Christmas cracker, by the way. Isn't that kind of cool? It's like the best Christmas cracker gift ever. In this shaker, you won't be able to see inside, but I've got toasted sesame seeds, cayenne pepper, garlic powder, and a few other things. And I've just made a nice little seasoning blend to use on anything. It's just on the table when we have dinner. It's kind of like togarashi, which is another one of my favorite sprinkles. If you're not familiar with togarashi and you see it in those little tiny jars in the Japanese stores or even in the grocery store, buy it. It's worth it. It's so good. Another thing you can do to this to make it even more delicious is sprinkle. I'm going to use some of my house sprinkle. And it's gonna make it taste so good. Like, to me, I have some plain rice and suddenly I have, like, this is passable for me for dinner or lunch. It's great. Great. Delicious. So that's it. The 3 S's. Make anything taste better with the 3 S's. I hope that catches on. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope that you find this useful. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you did, if you're into watching these kind of videos. And if you are watching and you enjoyed it, please let YouTube know by hitting the like button. That really helps. Let me know in the comments if you can think of anything that can't be fixed with the 3 S's, and I will try and make my argument against you. That's it for the spring season of How to Make Dinner. So I'll see you again in a couple weeks, and I look forward to sharing some summery, warm weather recipes and ideas with you. Oh, another thing you can add to this. You can also just sprinkle some peanuts on top. That's another sprinkle. Oh, sauce, salt, and sprinkles. Really though, there's nothing that can't be fixed. Too much salt, you add some sauce. Too much sauce, add some sprinkles. I think we're really onto something here.